Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Reason We Learn. I'm your host, Deb Philman. At The Reason We Learn, we aspire to be part of the solution. The purpose of this show is to take a good, honest, potentially painful look at the way kids are being educated. We know we can do better, and this is where we'll talk about how. Let's learn something. Today, I want to talk about mixed messages and the kind of confusion they create in children. Because we are sending mixed messages in education in America every minute of every day, and it is creating massive amounts of confusion, and that confusion in turn is creating all kinds of discomfort, and I would even go so far as to say trauma for our children, all while sending the message that the schools are trauma informed and want to minimize trauma. So that's just another one of the mixed messages. But anyway, or contradictions. I'm going to talk to you today about what mixed messages we're sending, some examples, how this might translate in a child's mind depending on their age. So I'll go through it in terms of elementary school, middle school, and high school. And then I'm going to suggest to you ways that we can stop doing this. In terms of parenting, how we could possibly help our kids recognize at a minimum that they are mixed messages and then begin to assert themselves and push back against mixed messages, demand better of the adults around them who are sending mixed messages so they don't have to struggle so hard to make sense of them, and most importantly, don't arrive at the wrong conclusion in their quest to make sense of mixed messages. And that, of course, is going to matter differently at different ages as well. Before I get started with this topic, I'd like to ask you to please consider subscribing to the channel if you find this kind of content useful and helpful. And if you are already a subscriber, thank you so much for your support. Please like, comment, and share this video. It helps feed the algorithm, helps other people know what we're talking about. And I also want this to be a space where we, share ideas back and forth. So, having said that, let's continue with the topic. Mixed messages cause a lot of communication problems in relationships, and intimate relationships, of course, but really in any relationship we have. And our children are spending 7 to 8 hours a day with people who are not us. If they go to school, they go to daycare, if they go to a combination of the two, those relationships are their intimate relationship. I mean, they're not intimate the way, but they're still very close. They're spending a lot of time, not just with teachers and caregivers, but also peers. So they've got layers and levels of relationships that could be sending mixed messages. So a mixed message technically is a double message in communication that sends conflicting information, verbally or non-verbally. You could have what you're doing doesn't match your words and so forth. So let's go over some of those, all right? So you can start to think yourself about what some of these mixed messages might be in your child's life and world. A mixed message is when the message doesn't match or is incongruent with the meaning that's coming through. So when a person says something that conflicts with what they said previously, when a person does something that conflicts with what they did previously, when they say something that conflicts with what they do, so their actions don't match their words at all, and when what they say doesn't match their body language, right? So they're saying words and smiling and everything, but maybe their body language is like closed arms or crossed legs or their back is turned, whatever. That would be an example of that. So generally, when you receive a mixed message without an expectation or a demand for change, you're sending both messages back to the sender. Now, our children are sitting ducks for this because they have no choice but to receive the mixed messages they're getting in school, especially when they're young. They lack the cognitive ability and the vocabulary to be able to send something back that says, please don't do that. You're confusing me. This doesn't match what you said yesterday. This doesn't match your body language. This doesn't even match your actions. This doesn't make sense. I don't get it. the K-5, even I would say in some cases, if you're dealing with shy kids, kids on the spectrum, kids with ADD, kids with learning disabilities, it could go all the way to 8th grade or higher. And what feeds into that is there is a hierarchical relationship. The teacher and the student are not equal, and they're not even true intimates in the sense that the student has no expectation of love, affection, or trust from the teacher, and vice versa. At least they shouldn't, and the teacher certainly shouldn't from the child. Students know this, children know this. One thing we know about children is, as a survival skill, they're kind of hardwired to know their status in the room. It's a survival skill. So the first thing they know is they're smaller and less capable and less knowledgeable than the teacher. As dumb as that teacher might be, and sadly today they could be pretty dumb, the student still thinks they're the smartest person in the room. And they still may think, if they're quite young, they know everything, which of course is completely untrue. And yet the only way they're going to know that is if the teacher, the parent, the school, the peers, everybody reinforces that truth, right? One person could say it and it might be a mixed message that they're getting from the teacher or getting from the peers or getting from one of their two parents, whatever. So that has to be really consistent or they will continue to believe it because, like I said, your survival hardwiring is going to trump whatever else you're being told. And kids are still in that learning phase. So pretty much everything I'm going to tell you, you have to modify for the developmental stage of a child. So as I said, they receive a mixed message, they have to receive it. In almost every case, they're not going to send back messages saying, please change and don't do this to me anymore. So ideally, what they would do or what you would do on their behalf is share the confusion. You would identify which kind of mixed message you got. And here's another problem. If a child does this to an adult, even a child to a parent, if they don't modify their tone while they're doing it to show that what they're doing is trying to improve communication and establish a better relationship, it can come off sassy. That's not what you said yesterday. That's not what you did yesterday. You told us something totally different before. That doesn't make any sense because you said this and then you did that. I don't know. You say this, but you look like you're kind of mad. That's just how kids talk. And that's if they talk. And that's if they have that much courage in front of their peers, never mind the teacher, to say anything at all. So the likelihood is they'll say nothing. They're just going to sit there in their confusion, or as I said, they'll voice their confusion in a semi-inappropriate way and they'll be disciplined for it. Instead of the teacher saying, tell me more. Okay, let me understand this. So are you confused? Is this causing a problem? Let me see if I can think about that. Instead of approaching the child with curiosity, which is what they should do, in all likelihood, because from what I've seen, most of the mixed messages are quite intentional, or at least so automatic and accidental that they're baked into the personality of the person delivering them, and they're unlikely to be self-aware and receptive. I've seen how they receive respectful comments about mixed messages from parents who have vocabulary and have the ability to modify their tone and say, I'm confused, teacher. You told my child X and then you did Y. And last week this was okay and this week it's not okay. And I'm also concerned that and you see what happens there. Now imagine your child tries to do it. Imagine the peers are not on board with the child trying to do it, and so on. You get the picture. All right. So that would be the first thing you do, is share the confusion, thoughts, and feelings. You would repeat what was said or what was observed. You would describe the behaviors. And when you communicate in that way, a mature person on the receiving end would, try to respond in a positive and reasonable way. And there wouldn't be attacking, blaming, disciplining, etc. But as I said, we're talking about children, and at all ages, especially true of elementary school, but at all ages, this is going to be a problem. Now, let's go through them kind of one by one. I'm going to give you some examples of mixed messages that are common in today's schools. Very specific ones, okay? America is irredeemably racist. White supremacist is baked into everything. It's in everything. Everything is divided into power and privilege. Some people have it, some people don't. It's all based on these intersections of identities. Where you find yourself on the intersectional chart of identities determines whether or not you are, you have power or privilege. And if you don't have it, you are at a deficit. Society is against you. You are oppressed. So this is the verbal message. And it's almost always delivered verbally. Sometimes they'll do little exercises, whatever, but most of the time it is repeated and repeated and repeated using words or stories or things that are, maybe even a movie or something, but it's usually words, stories, things of that nature. And yet, so the child hears, oh my God, the world is an oppressive, racist, scary place where people have it out. They have it in for you. If you're a Black child, you think, oh my God, the world has it in for me. If you're a white child, you think, do I have it in for them? I don't feel like I do. So there's also that conflict of that doesn't sound like my reality as to who I am and my relatives and everybody I know. That doesn't match reality. So you've got some cognitive dissonance right away in terms of the words don't match my other perceptions. What I'm seeing, what I'm experiencing, what I'm hearing from other people or just out and about, it doesn't match. But then look at the mixed message about what to do about it. What to do about it. See color. See color. We must be anti-racist. We must fight the oppressors. It's so dangerous out there. There's so much oppression and all these people have power and privilege and these people don't. So we have to go out there and fight the scary, bad, oppressive people. See race everywhere. Call out race. Highlight race. Read about race. Talk about race. Wave flags about all these different differences. Now, the adult might think, the teacher might say, yes, that's how we fight. Kind of rub their faces in it. The child, whose number one priority is survival and feeling safe, does not understand why, in this very dangerous situation that you've just described for them, or these terrible oppressors who have it in for people, you would want to call attention to the thing that they don't like. See race, see race, see race. Why would we do that? Why would we do that? That puts people in danger, doesn't it? To call it out. And then the discomfort that might be created from saying you must actively be in danger or put people in danger to deal with danger could be not only stress, but very strong feelings of anger and resentment. If the only way for me to deal with this kind of oppression is to run headlong into the fire, I'm not only scared and frustrated, I'm angry. There's no other way. There's nowhere to hide. I can't go around those people. I can't go under them. I can't go over them. I can't ignore them. I can't pretend. I can't hide. Seems like the scariest possible way to deal with the problem, doesn't it? To a child. The child doesn't see it as, as don't worry, you're perfectly safe because I'm going to keep you safe from this terribly scary world right here in the four walls of the school. I know they give lip service to that. It just doesn't happen to work. In the mind of the child, that's not good enough. They have to go out in the world every day. They have to go home. They're worried about mom and dad out in this scary world. They're worried about their grandparents. They're worried about their siblings. They're worried about themselves. You've basically just terrified them. As they get older, now, presume they've been hearing this mixed message and experiencing it for quite a while. And they've also experienced the cognitive dissonance of my five senses are telling me something different. So I'm getting a mixed message from reality and my teacher and my school. And then if I have the guts to confront my teacher about that reality, then I'm getting the mixed message of instead of student voice and let's hear from you and we want to make you feel comfortable and safe and loved and everything. If you voice, like skepticism about what they're telling you, you need to do more work. You need to work harder at this. You're not seeing it. You're not awake enough. You're the problem. You're the problem. Didn't you get it? You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So increasingly, we see students who don't speak up because they know what the answer is going to be. You're just not awake enough. You're not seeing it. You're clinging to your privilege. You're white adjacent, right? Okay. So that's one example. Another one is society is arbitrary and unfair. The people who are succeeding, the people you see with money, the people say it's arbitrary. It's based on they were born to money or they were born with the power and privilege or whatever. So anything you see that they have was arbitrarily assigned, including your gender, by the way, that was arbitrarily assigned. The comfort you perceive that they have, which of course you couldn't possibly know whether it's real or not, but anything you perceive about other people being ahead of you, better than you, more successful than you in some kind of measurable way, that is unfair and arbitrary, undeserved, unearned privilege. We hear about these things. And so then the child feels like, well, so if I or my family don't have that stuff, we're never going to get it. It's just unachievable. Then the next breath, you can be anything you want to be. You're special. You can be whatever you want to be, like soar high, have a growth mindset, dream big. What? You hear the mixed message? Doesn't seem to work. How can I be whatever I want to be and soar high and dream big and have a growth mindset, change my outcome, while at the same time this irredeemably racist society that is super scary and has it in for me or that I have to avoid being part of is setting up all these arbitrary rules and limitations, and it was all predestined anyway. It's like nothing I can do about it. Major mixed message. Major confusion. And you will see a lot more kids coping with that by believing the message that allows them to do nothing and gives them an excuse. Because let's face it, striving, dreaming, pursuing goals, overcoming obstacles, that's hard. You need a lot of motivation. And part of the motivation is it's achievable. You can do it. Anyone can do it. There is no arbitrary obstacle in your way other than your own, ability to keep trying after you fall down and mess up the first dozen times or whatever. Just go ask, Thomas Edison. So if I've got these two messages and one is, pfft, and the other one is go, the one the kid's more likely to lean into, unless they've got a solid foundation of getting a positive, you can do it. Yeah, life is kind of sucky sometimes, but that's not going to get in your way because you're going to go around it, under it, over it, whatever. They're going to lean into the one that gives them an excuse. I'm not successful because reasons my teacher gave me. My parents aren't successful. Other people aren't successful. I'm going to lean into the mediocre outcome. And what's more, I'm going to further demand that this oppressive, horrible system work harder at equalizing my mediocre outcome for everybody so it's not so arbitrary and unfair anymore. They don't even realize they're cutting off their own opportunity because they were told it wasn't theirs. It was arbitrary. It was assigned. It was given unearned. So they don't even see that they're cutting off their own opportunities. But their goal is to deal with the mixed message. How do I deal with this mixed message? That's how I deal with it. That's the most likely answer. Okay, and then the last one would be, society hates and punishes people who are different. Society has these standards, has these norms. They like the outcome metrics are arbitrary or they're oppressive. They're part of the oppression. And one of your goals is, they can't stand difference. They can't stand anybody who's different. They can't, they're homophobic, transphobic, they're sexist, they're misogynistic, they're, ageist, they're ableist, pick an ist. Society is it. Okay? So we've got the oppressively racist, oppressor thing, and now we get into the nitty-gritty and the specifics of if you're different in any way, you are in for it. So not only we got to call out the race, though, now we get done telling you how dangerous it is to have these other differences, and then we're going to turn around and we're going to celebrate the differences. We're going to broadcast them. We're going to celebrate them. We're going to elevate them to hero status. We're going to give them their own special color, brightly colored flags, pins, designations, acronyms, clubs, you name it. months, days, weeks to celebrate, little class libraries about them, etc. Mixed message. Society hates you if you are one of these people. So we're going to celebrate all of this stuff. And the kid's going, so society hates these people, but they're constantly celebrating them and nothing bad's happening. Not only is nothing bad happening, all the bad things that seem to be happening are to the people, especially in the peer group, who are not different, who are just normie, who uphold the norms, who maybe want to uphold the norms, who look at all the different stuff and go, I'm good. Yeah, I don't need to be different. Now they're on the receiving end of what they're told the different people are gonna be or in danger of being on the receiving end of. Massive mixed message, massive cognitive dissonance. But you guys said that you were I'm getting bullied. What? How? And they're not able to go and say, can you not do this to me? Can you not send me the mixed message that I'm the oppressor? I'm the bully. I have privilege. Everything good happens to me. It's arbitrary. I didn't deserve it, etc. and so forth. But every time I turn around, your words, your actions, your body language, every single thing you do is telling me the exact opposite of what you're teaching me. Not only that, I leave your classroom and there are places I can go and I either get more of the same celebration, dissonance, that you're pushing, or I get a reminder that all the stuff that you're doing doesn't match reality. But I can't come in and challenge you on that because if I do, you're going to double down on all the other stuff that you're doing to me while calling me the bully. So their actions are sort of bullying with a smile. That's the other thing is, if you don't do X, you're a bigot. If you don't believe Y, you're part of the oppressor group. But I'm smiling and I love everyone. And it's all good. We're loving and accepting, and you should feel like you belong here, unless you haven't done the work. Then you need to do more work. When you disagree, you need to do more work. It's always on you. It's never on the mixed message sender. So what can you do about it? What can you do about it? Well, you can try to teach your kids, even when they're young, that there is such a thing as a mixed message. How you deliver that message, I do not know, but I would do check-ins regularly with your young children to ask them if anything confuses them. Sometimes the younger they are, they'll struggle. They won't have the vocabulary, but they'll be very forthcoming if you start this process early enough and you get them to open up about their day. What did you learn today? Let them tell you excitedly what they learned, and maybe they'll hold forth with some of this confusion, like, our teacher said this about gender, I had to come up with my pronouns, whatever. Like, does that make sense to you, or does that confuse you? Does that match what you think? Do you think your teacher's right? Help them build up their own autonomy, their own sense of, I have a right to have an opinion about this topic, even though I'm young, even though I'm small, even though that person is the teacher. They don't know everything. You could even go so far as to say that. You say, we grown-ups, we know a lot because we've been around longer than you guys and so forth. And it's our job to help you learn the things you need to know. But we still don't know everything. There's so much to know in this world. We couldn't possibly know it all. Even the smartest people don't know everything. So if your teacher says something and it doesn't make sense to you, tell me and we'll try to find out together and we'll figure out what you think about it. Okay? And that doesn't mean you're giving them license to believe whatever the heck they want. Like, well, I think it's great that I can identify as a cat. Okay? You can ask more probing questions like, let's think about that. What does a cat have? What is a cat like? And the good news about the concrete thinker is, it's fur and it has whiskers and it meows and it goes in a sandbox or whatever. And they say, do you do those things? And it's not about do they want to do those things. It's not about whether they wish they could do those things. It's about, do you do those things right now? No. So do you think you're a cat? But I want to be a cat. Well, we want to be things, but we want to be lots of things. I'd like to be taller. I'd like to be 10 years younger. I'd like to be a lot of things. I can't be because I'm me. But you know what the good news is? I'm the only me there is. Just like you're the only you there that there is. And that's what's awesome about it. So you get to decide who you are, but you don't have to decide to be something that you're not and can't be. So you can have these conversations, okay? And then as they get older, it's going to be easier to have the conversations. But if you haven't had these and they're already older and they're already saying things, you can still, so what's going on in school? What are you guys learning? Tell me what you guys are talking about. I'm really curious. And some teenagers, some people are like, whatever, mom. I mean, you might get that. But you got to try. And the action of speaking, because the speaking is an action also, but also the words of taking an interest consistently, asking questions, having that match, having your words match, your body language match what you're doing, is also going to demonstrate to your child that you're a source of consistency. Your messages are not mixed, and check yourself to see if you're delivering other mixed messages in your household. Like, oh my God, I'm so sick and tired of picking up all the dirty laundry on the floor, and you guys need to pick up more, and you got to do this, and why am I the only one doing the laundry and cleaning out the dishes of the sink and while you're doing it for them, and then doing it again, and then doing it again, and then the one time they come forward and do it, and you're like, no, you load the dishwasher like this. Wait, no, like you're putting the darks with the lights, let me do it. So I see how much you really hate doing the laundry, Mom, and you really hate doing the dishes, except that you're doing it, and you were very specific about how you want it done. So check your own mixed messages, because we all do it. I'm certainly far from perfect. I have done those two examples I just gave, which is why I gave them. And I had to catch myself, and I had to say, ooh, don't do that. So we all do it. But when you can catch yourself, and when you can then admit it and say to your child, especially a tween or a teenager, I think I've been sending you a mixed message about cleaning up around here, and I want to stop doing that. So here's what I'm going to do. This is truly what I would like to see, but I also understand I have to change, I have to hold back on criticizing it, because really my higher priority is to get everybody doing their own laundry. So I'm going to stop micromanaging. I apologize for doing that, but I really need you to do your own laundry. So can we change it to that rule? So that way I'm not nagging, because you hate that, and I really shouldn't nag you. I should just ask you to do it and expect you to do it, because you live here and this is what we do, right? Like, you expect me to do certain things, and I expect you to do this. So you can own it that you've been doing it too. And then increasingly, not only will they recognize mixed messages from their teachers and other adults in their lives, but they will also learn the vocabulary of asking the teacher not to do that anymore. You can even say to your child, are there other things that I do that are sending a mixed message? And be prepared. You might not like what you hear. And encourage them to use whatever words they've got to tell you. Yeah, like how you always tell me I have to be on time and I got to hurry up and get it up, but you're always late, Mom. You're always late. Every time we need to go and you're always the last one in the car, but you're telling me I got to be on time. What gives? Okay, so you might not love what you hear. And try to resist the urge to say, well, I'm different. It's different for me. Just take it and say, that's really an interesting observation. Thank you for sharing that with me and being honest about it. I will try to do better. You're human. You might not succeed, but take it and so forth. Then, like I said, when you're the role model for how an adult should act around mixed messages, when the teacher's doing it, when the coaches and the counselors are doing it, your kid's going to be more wise to it and be more likely to go, how come doesn't make sense? Okay? So I hope this is helpful, because when kids get mixed messages, especially in that setting, like I said, with school, they will suppress the dissonance they feel from it. They will take the path of least resistance to alleviate their discomfort. That will almost always be to lean into whichever part of the message they are capable of addressing most quickly and easily, and getting the most approval, not just from the teacher, but from their peers. And that's normal. They are hardwired to do that. And that is exactly why I have such a huge problem with these schools and these teachers, because they were supposed to learn child development. They were supposed to learn about this sort of thing. They were supposed to study communication and not deliver mixed messages at this level. And yet they are doing it. And they're doing it, I believe, intentionally. Every single teacher, probably not. I think most of them are just plain dumb and poorly educated, poorly adapted, immature, many of them personality disordered, terrible attachment themselves, probably have really significant problems with their parents themselves, and are acting that out on your children. And no matter what they say, this is the biggest mixed message of all. If they really cared about your children as much as they say they do, half as much as they say they do, they would listen to you eagerly and they would try to change. Because unlike your children, you are adults and you are capable of providing feedback to them on how their mixed messages are being received. And when they tell you to shut up and sit down and you're not the expert and you're a bigot anyway, that's all the proof you should need that they don't care about your children at all. In which case, you ought to know what to do, right? And when you don't do it, what's the biggest mixed message of all? I love you, honey, and you're so important to me. You're the most important thing to me in the world. Now get ready for school. That's all I have for today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope you found this useful. And as always, please like, share, subscribe. And if you can support me in one of the other ways listed above, I greatly appreciate it. Have a great day.